Hey everybody, and welcome to the Irish Wrestling Podcast. This is your monthly AEW review show. Every month, at the start of every month, we are going to be looking back on the month that was for AEW to see how things have progressed. If and can they make things better, or if there's anything that they should change, or maybe something they should keep and keep doing well. Hopefully, it'll get better and better throughout the year for AEW, and it'll also lead us up until to All In whenever it comes back to Wembley. So, Mark, AEW in January. Sorry, folks, I forgot to introduce you to the birthday boy, Mark O'Brien, who has now
Hello.
turned 32, and he's
Yes.
getting all the aches and pains in all the wrong places. So, uh, how are you?
I'm good, Jerry. Thank you very much. Yes, I feel old and cranky and tired on a Sunday bank holiday. Typically, in years gone by, I'd be out in the piss now, but now I'm doing a podcast with you, and there's nowhere else I'd rather be.
Ah, well,
There you are.
there's nothing worse than hangovers in your 30s,
That's easy
except
to
the
avoid.
ones in your 40s, like me.
I can imagine.
How do you think AEW have done? Have they had a hangover after the MJF Samoa Joe Adam Cole fallout? For
No, I think they've slowly shifted. I think they haven't tried to do a big crash bang wallop changeover. I think when they started the Continental Classic, you could see a direct transition in the way they program things.
hmm
Week by week, everything kind of changed. The far more serious attitude, far more logical, rather than try to make a television drama product, rather as you would find in different products. I suppose you could see like everything's even sometimes mightn't make that much sense on paper, but you can see some things they're trying to do have some sort of logic behind it, be it
hmm
around different titles, making constantly having number one contender matches for them and reiterating people's rankings, people's records, be it 1-0, whatever it is in different divisions. No, I don't think they've had a hangover as such. I think they've slowly, gradually continued to reset and build and build and build to a more sustainable model and product. I think that you can see the way they've gone by kind of reiterating like Hook's record when he built up
hmm
him to face Samoa Joe, the logic behind that, building up his 29-0 record prior to that. You've seen the Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland evolution as the kind of two faces of Dynamite and really focusing on their individual records in that sense. And you've had kind of similar iterations over in Collision with Adam Copeland with the Cope Open, trying to build him back up to a TNT title shot. But no, listen, I think it's been very, very good. It's been a nice transition. Even though they're both sports centric products and more logical and sensible products, I think there still is some brilliant storytelling. I think there's a nice contrast between the three shows still. I think that they're booked quite differently.
Yeah.
There's very much a different tone and different feel to each product night by night. But no, listen, I've thoroughly enjoyed it so far. I think it's very much been a table setting month for the
Yeah.
weeks and months ahead. And
What
I think, sorry, go
what do you think of the reintroduction of the ranking systems?
on. I don't like what they did. I really don't like what they did. They had a really cool opportunity to do something different. I think part of the reason why they got rid of the rankings in the first place because they had the TNT title, then they added in the All Atlantic, now the international
hmm
title, and then they were already doing the Owen Hart Cup Foundation tournament, and then they're adding in the Crowns Cup tournament, and then they're looking to bring in a trios tournament or trios belt. So it's all sort of different things being contested regularly, plus fictional titles like the FTW title, the Dynamite Diamond Ring, which is contested annually. So many different things are being contested that rankings would have negated the ability to tell stories, and I completely understood that. However, when they ship in a load of ex-WWE producers who openly say like this is how wrestling's done nowadays, that a lot of their own logic and their booking tropes and philosophies change so dramatically that there was an outcry from fans to kind of switch back towards this ranking based model.
hmm
Um, Ideally, I would have liked to have seen a very straightforward ranking system, men's, women's tag on top of each. You've had just the world champion and just the tag team champions.
Yeah.
Within that, then you would find the TNT champion. Within that, you'd find the international champion. Within that, you'd find whoever is currently holding the Continental Crown. Continental Crown in itself, I thought was immediately devalued
Yeah. I
once
didn't
it
like
was
that when
once
it
it,
was well,
yeah, like
he's defending it every week. I didn't think the point
I
of it.
think the logic is so he doesn't have to defend the New Japan or
Mm.
Ring of Honor
Yeah, yeah.
titles on AEW television. And they can say, "Oh no, he's defending the AEW belt." Do you know what I mean? I think it's something around that kind of.
Well, if he's not going to lose
Yeah, and I think they're
the
going to
matches,
slowly.
there's no reason why they shouldn't be defending the
I
other
think
two.
I think they'll slowly. I think they want to have an AEW centric product, so I think they'll
Mm.
slowly phase those two belts out, and they'll only appear when he appears in different brands. Um, That's my thought. But anyway, I would have had the Continental Classic the same way as the G1, as it's like winner takes all. The person who can has the most sustainability, who shows the most strength, endurance, builds to a point where you're wrestling every single week against the absolute best, and the
Yeah.
person comes out on top. It's like the Champions League, the
Yeah,
round
well,
robin tournament. That's the format. And Champions League, you don't defend the Champions League week in week through the summer.
that's the way they
You know?
booked it. That's the way they booked the
Yeah,
competition, as if,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
you're
and
the top
100%.
12 people or whoever it was, and
100%.
that's
And
it.
like if you have an additional prize at the back of that, like you're not just holding a crown, I know I'm very loath to say it because like I know New Japan started doing the you win the G1, you get a shot at the IWGP at Wrestle Kingdom, which is
Hmm.
just a lift and shift from Royal Rumble,
Yeah,
WrestleMania. It's
yeah,
like that kind of like everything in wrestling's been done generally, so I don't like that. Like, oh no, if he wins this, why don't you get a shot at Revolution? Because it's been done. It's around the exact same time frame of Royal Rumble to WrestleMania.
yeah, yeah,
So I don't mind like if you had something different, or a different prize or some sort of whatever it was, use your creative mind rather than just making a belt that's defended every week and just making it another secondary title.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but that I didn't like that again because that then makes the rankings more convoluted. Um, I think the international title, when it was introduced as the All Atlantic title, was initially introduced, I believe, for people like Pac who are in different parts of the world. They
Yeah.
can go around and like they appeared in OTT,
Hmm.
they appeared in Rev Pro.
Yeah.
OTT or AEW wrestlers regularly wrestle on weekends for products other than AEW. They wrestle on independent shows all around America,
Yeah.
North America. They can fly to Japan. They can do this, that, and the other. That belt should be used for matches at independent shows to build up an AEW brand. They can use
Yeah.
it for their YouTube series or whatever they want.
Hmm.
Um, like I don't mind the All Atlantic. I don't like Orange Cast. I don't mind Orange Cassidy rather. I don't mind like John Moxley one. It was all done very well. But like you already have the TNT title. Why don't you just give it to him for that? Like why do you have? Because if you have two secondary titles now, third secondary title, like which is the secondary title, which is the third and fourth? But I mean, you can look at WWE, like, okay, grand, you've got like the world, the Universal, the World, Intercontinental, the US. Like, you don't
Hmm.
have to copy them by having four belts. Like, you can do your own thing.
Yeah, but not defending the way they have so many belts in WWE, like, but they're split up into two brands, like, and
They're
they
not
don't.
really.
But
They're not. Yeah, I know, I
technically
know,
they're,
I know, I know.
but they don't have that with AEW. Like, there's
Well, like
if
AEW,
they just kept,
to be
the
fair, to be,
Continental and Collision.
yeah, like to be fair, the TNT only ever appears on Collision, really.
Yeah,
And like to be, like if there was a bit more strong in that division. Do you know what I mean? Like you never saw them in the same show, which they don't really.
yeah,
You never really see TNT on the same show as the world champion. And like they kind of saved Christian and his father of the year stuff for Nigel McGuinness on a Saturday, which is
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah. It's
It
brilliant.
goes.
Works
That's absolutely
well.
perfect.
Yeah.
And they've done really well on that front. But back to your original question of the rankings, I think this it kind of just muddies the water around it. And I think particularly with the trios division, if you look at the rankings they did for the top five of the tag team,
Hmm.
um, they had Dark Order number two. Dark Order haven't even appeared in any sort of television product up to this week all month. They've been doing dark matches for BTE or being the Dark Order.
They did the tribute, the Brody Lee tribute. That was a backstage segment, wasn't it, or something with
Yeah, but I mean, like
the Bucks?
they've done no 2-on-2 tag team matches.
Hmm.
They've put this face Brandon Cutler and Colt Cabana, who should be lucky to have a job in the first place. Um, yeah, like that's the only matches they've won yet. They're number two in the rankings, whereas other people have been having matches week on week. They're ahead of Private Party, they're ahead of Top Flight, or teams who are featured weekly. And then you look at the trios rankings, and you're seeing the likes of FTR with Daniel Garcia, but Daniel Garcia is also in collision saying, "Yeah, I'm actually going to go for the TNT title,
Hmm.
not these trios titles you're talking about." Um, so I think that I just hate trios titles. I think I like trios matches. I like them in the sense that you can have like a tag team and like their singles guy pal or against another group of people beat like if you're against a group on group type thing.
Yeah,
But if
yeah.
you're all like if everybody's got a belt, nobody's got a belt. And it devalues those kind of two different genres. Um I'm hoping, I think the natural evolution for the trios title you'll see is the Bang Bang Scissor Gang thing is going to be
Hmm.
building to the Acclaim versus Bullet Club Gold, and they'll probably do a unification with the ROH six-man titles because they're the only belts that didn't get rebranded with all the new shiny
Hmm.
silver Ring of Honor belts. So I'm hoping they go in the bin 'cause they look terrible anyway and they're useless. Um, So you'll have one set of trios champions. I would have them just as like a novelty kind of shtick. Like I wouldn't, they can appear in the rankings for the tag team if you want, but I have three sets of 10 um secondary titles and novelty titles can all appear in that list if you want, but you've got to be winning matches. You can't just be a top of a title. You can't be
Yeah, yeah.
entitled to anything just because you're holding secondary belts. There should be three, like in the UFC or whatever. You have one champion.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I know you have interims
Yeah.
and all that, but we can cross that bridge when it comes to it. So it's the rankings are better than not being there, but they're still a
Did they
million miles from what they could be.
did they work the first time they had the rankings?
Oh, they did, yeah. Oh, they did, yeah. Jesus,
Did they
yeah. Oh,
properly
they did.
work though?
Oh yeah, they're amazing. It just made everything so much clearer. And then once they kind of started over polluting the roster with XWW, sorry, I'm not having it go WWE, but XWB guys who released on mass across 2020, 21, 22. They kind of overinflated the roster, and then it
Hmm.
became so many different people who couldn't put each other over. So and also people had to have winning records. Suddenly you're having people in the like a certain division, they're like 10-0, they're ranked number one for 10 weeks in a row that they can be, but they weren't being able to be challenged because two people couldn't face each other because of a backstage infighting type thing. So there's all sorts of drama that are going on behind the scenes while a new upstart company with that hadn't fleshed out its office and capabilities was overly inflated with the amount of talents they had on board. And a lot of those bad eggs have since been weeded out. I'm pretty sure you can guess a number of them as is, or people
No
have been
idea.
shifted.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. But anyway, people have been shifted across the different brands to stay away from different people, or people are focusing on different divisions. They don't have
Hmm.
to focus on other people. So I think they were incredibly at their inception. I really liked the idea of it was new and novel, and it was really well done across the pandemic in particular for the 2 years, like say 20, well, it was 2019, 2021. Those first 3 years were incredible. 2022, when everybody who wanted a job got a job, it became a lot more difficult to sustain, and
Yeah.
there's so many more juggling parts. And across 2022, they added in new tournaments, new belts, constant diamond rings. They were doing the casino battle royales, casino ladder matches. There's so many different sports centric tropes that were also kind of negating the value of a ranking system. Like if you're consistently having a battle royal to win a title shot or something, or a ladder match to win a title shot or something, why do you need rankings? Why do you just sit in your arse and catering and then just swan in, win a battle royal, and suddenly you're facing Samoa Joe or the likes?
Yeah, yeah.
So, um, they were done very well. I think Tony Khan was very much in the first that kind of period of keeping everybody happy and fitting all his toys into the match card as much as he could. And there's a bit of that as well when you see the kind of ranking system that's been done so far and the four men's champions listed all side by side each other. I think they'll naturally like this is just a starting point. So you'll see week by week, like I think they will go gung ho with this approach based on the kind of ratings and other successes they've had over the last number of months, focusing on a sports centric approach again. You might naturally see things get moved aside or things become more focused or refocused. You might have a separate TNT division for people on Collision or something of that ilk.
Hmm.
Like I would personally keep the yeah, I keep the TNT title on Collision. If you had to, I would have ideally used the TNT title if I was completely reshaped AEW. Would have had TNT title as a regular television title defended every single week, probably
Yeah.
on Rampage, and then I would have had the world champion appear across Dynamite and Collision. So you constantly have that one focus of this is the man, this is the man, this is the woman, this is the tag team. These are the people you're chasing. Yeah, there's a lot of things to consider, and there's a lot more things to consider on Tony Khan's part than for us sitting on the far side of the Atlantic here in sunny Dublin.
I can't imagine what his board, his plan sheet or whatever he has up on the wall,
Yeah,
like this,
yeah.
trying to juggle everything back and forward and trying to
Yeah.
figure out who's going where because
Seven
like I
hours of
said.
programming. So 7 hours of programming, plus he's just finished the January transfer window with Fulham in the Premier
Hmm.
League. And he's like doing all their analytics. He's director of football. Plus he's got
Yeah.
the Jacksonville Jaguars. Plus he's got his own analytics company somewhere in America as well. So um it kind of just makes you wonder, like if he just put focused on one thing, like just wrestling, like like he
That's
at certain times, like he still has the best product on
mm,
television by a mile, right? And at certain times he's been like close to immaculate or like perfect. Like or for certain periods, it's just been miles better than anything that's been there for the past 20 years. Like if he just like dropped a couple of things and just
yeah.
focused 100%, because
That's That's a
he has
question I
tried.
want. It was a question I wanted to ask him on one of the media calls. Obviously, because there's so many people on those calls, it's hard to get a question in.
Yeah.
But Fulham were in the semi-final against Liverpool at the Cup a couple of weeks ago. They lost, unfortunately. But if they had a won the match, I think the final would have been on a Saturday in Wembley, the
Mm,
same time as Collision would have been on somewhere in America. And I was like,
mm.
you know, who, which one are you going to pick? Do you
Yeah,
go to
yeah.
the final and watch Fulham,
I think
possibly
he
win the
has.
trophy, or stay
I think
in
to be fair to him,
Collision?
he's never missed a television program at all
Yeah,
ever.
I know. Yeah,
So I think he's missed Fulham games, he's missed Jaguars games, he hasn't missed wrestling.
but for
So
a cup final,
I know.
what's his priority?
Yeah, it's like it's hard to say, and I think he's tried to in the past. Like a lot of the times when AEW's gone off the rails, it's because he's tried to empower other people.
Mm,
That's blatantly obvious. Like the end of 2021, when there was a lot of the Dark Order shtick and a lot of Matt Hardy crap, uh, a lot of that was driven by say the likes of the Young Bucks in their booking. But like that's no judgment on them. They're wrestlers, they're not bookers.
yeah, yeah.
They're trying to get their friends over, all friends wrestling at the time. Like that's fair enough. And then obviously you can see last year when they tried to empower a lot of the creative pro people
Hmm.
from New York area, like with like Pat Buck booking. You had the likes of MJF having a huge hand in everything he does and says and taking up like over an hour of television every single week just focusing on himself and then bringing in the likes of Anthony Bones, Max Caster, and all his other pals from Creative Pro. That's why you saw
Hmm.
the likes of the Iron Savages suddenly appearing on television in the summer, even though they're god awful. Um, like that's a lot of that stuff. When he tried to empower people, he brought in Jimmy Jacobs as his wheelman, as he called it, like as he drove across America from show to show. Jimmy Jacobs is a comedy writer. He like nearly
Yeah, yeah.
destroyed the women's division in Impact Wrestling. He was a gimmick comedy wrestler. He was a gimmick comedy writer in Impact. He was a gimmick comedy guy in WWE. Like Chris Jericho loved working with him because Chris Jericho just does kind of sticky, gimmicky sports entertainment stuff anyway. So, and it
Hmm.
doesn't fit with what AEW is. That's why he was lambasted for so long online. And evidently, I think the likes of Will Washington's, who's very much a sports centric, record based fan and knows things inside out, his involvement has re-energized the AEW, I believe, and the likes of John
What is
Moxley,
he? What is his job title? What is Will Washington doing there?
executive wrestling administrator. So a lot of that is kind of a lot of it is well, I mean, it's not for them to tell us though. Like it's not a public limited company. There doesn't have
No,
they
but
don't.
like,
Yeah, I mean,
what
like
does he do?
I mean, yeah,
What's
but he's on the creative team. He works in a huge amount of areas. Like it's still it's 5 years into a company, and like they've got like very much a shell staff, and they outsource a huge amount of things behind the scenes. So they, a guy you can juggle a number of things and run a number of different projects while also understanding the dynamics of wrestling television product and be able
hmm.
to help focus the lens on a number of different issues. That's essentially been his role. Like I know I know this for a fact from speaking with people. Tony loves booking Collision more than loves booking anything else because there's no pressure booking Collision.
Yeah.
AEW Dynamite on a Wednesday is a brand now. It's a staple of a week every
Prime
Wednesday.
time TV
Primetime
slot, like
TV.
he has to keep
Yeah, and
up.
there's also a number of different backstage factors of people who think they run Dynamite and they demand
Hmm.
their time on a Wednesday show, be it the likes of Jericho or who whatnot. Then you've got the likes of Brian Danielson on a Saturday, who Tony loves working with, and Brian Danielson's like a breath of fresh air. He wants every wrestling to be anything and everything, but in a very focused lens of sports-based product. Um, that's why I think since the CM Punk focus collision was a lot more wasn't WWE centric, but there was a lot of presentation tropes you could see lifted from a WWE environment. There wasn't so much shtick and comedy, but there was a lot of things that were very reminiscent of a WWE formatted show. Even the
Hmm.
way they suddenly started looking at
Loads of fireworks.
fireworks, sure, yeah, fire. But it was more stuff like you could see like the arena from the outside, or just
Yeah, yeah.
um how cards are booked where like there suddenly 6 man tags or main events regularly, and that wasn't just for a CMFTR. It was just very much reminiscent of how like WWE Raw from the late 2000s was booked. Like everything would end up in like a tag team match that are two singles wrestlers are facing each other. Can they coexist type stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was kind of a lot of the collision booking philosophy. And since then, with Brian Dennis has come in, you've seen a lot more hard hitting, reality based wrestling products. I think he's had a huge hand in booking the
Hmm.
Continental Classic. He's had a huge hand in really pushing the new CMLL partnership that obviously New Japan were so strong with for years. And obviously based on the fact that AAA are done really poorly in Mexico and abroad for the last like 5 to 10 years. Well, not 5 to 10 years, say the last 5 years. CMLL have been thriving, even though they're very much an insular Mexican product. New Japan have their own relationship with them, but every wrestler under the sun wants to wrestle with CMLL or for CMLL in Arena
What
Mexico.
where did this come from? Where did this partnership come from? We can touch into the CMML and the Blackpool Combat Club stuff now while we're talking about them. So how did this come about?
So okay, so if you look at the do you remember the first Forbidden Door show?
Mm-hmm.
So Andrade was supposed to face Will Ospreay. So at the
Yeah.
time, Andrade was a considered a AAA wrestler. New
Mm-hmm.
Japan have a relationship with CMLL,
Yeah.
and no CMLL wrestler or New Japan wrestler can appear on the same match or sometimes the same show as a AAA wrestler.
Right.
So there started to become a lot of issues working with AAA wrestlers. So like even though Andrade was contracted to AEW, wasn't contracted to AAA,
Mm-hmm.
the likes of Ray Phoenix, Penta, then they sound like Bandido.
Yeah.
None of them could appear in the same show as a New Japan wrestler. And then you've got the likes of Rocky Romero, who is the kind of New Japan America go-between guy for
Yeah.
everything, Booker for New Japan Strong and whatnot. But he's also a really, really high-level wrestler himself, and he's been a CMLL champion the last number of years, and he's a superstar in Mexico, like megastar. Um, so Rocky Romero was like paramount in getting that initial relationship with AEW and New Japan. He then obviously when Tony is like a lucha savant, like he loves lucha libre more than he does Japanese wrestling. But when he first started at AEW, Conan was like, "Yeah, I'll work with you, no problem," because they're looking for relationships everywhere. And the likes of the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, they wanted to work with AAA because they have certain history there.
Yeah.
Um, so we couldn't really drop that. And then over the years, you've seen the likes of Conan slate AEW and their booking tropes, and like on his podcast on a weekly basis, he's kind of slagging them off, while he's also setting up relationships with TNA and MLW. But because of Tony's relationship with AAA, a lot of it kind of ruins his booking for a lot of shows. So when he started doing a huge amount of shows in southern Texas, and they were drawing huge crowds, um, very much lucha libre focused. He then decided to try reach out to Rocky Romero and see if he can get Mystico or one of the CMLL wrestlers to come in and perform. And
Yeah.
they put Mystico on a Rampage Friday night show, and they sold out of nearly a full arena based on the walk up alone. So that gives you a financial incentive to continue that relationship. Plus, you're already a huge fan, and the likes of Moxley, Cesar, or
Yeah.
Claudio, Brian Danielson, they've been wanting to go to CMLL for years, but you haven't been able to because of certain relationships. So they kind of pursued that further. And you've seen the likes of Rev Pro now do an annual show with CMLL in America, and the UK, Fantastic Mania. And you've seen Tony move closer to his relationship with New Japan, his closer relationship with Andy Quildan and Rev Pro. You've seen his relationship with Rocky Romero grow.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, you've kind of seen these kind of different companies move closer together, a better understanding of what each other they can do for each other. Like you're going to see Brian Danielson over in New Japan next week against Zack Sabre Jr. But I wouldn't be surprised in the next couple of weeks to see Brian Danielson or those guys appear in Arena Mexico in a
Yeah.
CMLL show
Well,
because
it looks like they're heading that way with what's going on weekly now since they
yeah,
started the
yeah,
invasion angle. I'm not going to call it invasion angle, but it
yeah.
seems that way that they're coming in and
It was kind of like the Radicals from early
yeah,
2000s.
yeah, yeah.
But so
Well,
because they
like,
had
half the roster coming out to help Moxley, people that Moxley would have fucking annihilated weeks earlier,
yeah,
like, they're coming out to protect him because
yeah.
he's our
It was done
guy.
well. It was done well, but they also had because like so much of like CMLL, it's not like readily available anywhere.
No,
Like
I'm
it's
not,
not on
not
like Fight
familiar with
Fire.
him at all.
It's if you can get them on YouTube, but like they're fucking that's absolutely unbelievable. Like I subscribed recently. It's so incredible. It's very different wrestling. Like nearly all
Hmm.
matches are two out of three falls, but not in the same WWE kind of sticky way. It's like you probably saw that last week. They have by introducing them as part of a team, you're kind of
Hmm.
building the awareness of CMLL as a product to kind of not just the kind of southern states who all have
Yeah.
like Mexican terrestrial television in Southern America.
Hmm.
So by introducing them as a team, you can then branch out and see them differently. Like Hechicero versus Brian Danielson was a match that was being called out for like the second he got released from or he left WWE,
Yeah.
and I think there's a lot of like just giving Brian everything he possibly can this year as well. Hello,
Yeah.
Liz. So, so I think by
You let
giving
him
him an
out the
individual,
back though.
sorry.
All right. All right. No, it's okay. All right, work away. He's the dog's trying to get out the back.
I think I think by doing these kind of individual that initial team match, then kind of split people off into individual rivalries, it's a way of kind of building up CMLL's promotion as well as people as individual wrestlers. Like you've
Yeah.
seen Hechicero versus Brian Danielson. Volador was doing promos back in Mexico over the weekend for John Moxley. So you'll probably see that match in Arena Mexico between himself and
Hmm.
John Moxley. I see over the next week or two you'll see the three comp or maybe Butte as well. The Blackpool Combat lads leg it down there and do a run in or something as well.
Are we
So
headed to AEW, maybe crossing the border into Mexico and having a show
yeah,
there?
I reckon they'll do Forbidden Door there.
Yeah.
I reckon they'll do a three-pronged Forbidden Door this year. I would do it in Arena Mexico, but well, maybe it depends.
What's the issue between, I don't know, maybe rival companies
Mhm.
aside, what's the issue between Triple A and CMML? Is there some?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like it's just a very much a business type of thing, and like obviously Hispanic, Latin kind of cultural things we are beyond comprehension to our simple-minded minds.
Yeah, it's not like some
Um,
sort of, territorial.
I don't know. Listen, you're from the
Uh,
north. You probably have a better idea divides than I do. Um, sorry.
we have the Good Friday Agreement. It's gone. I
There
don't
you
know if
are.
they've got one in Mexico.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, you look at people like Conan's hiring. Like he's given the likes of Alberto El Patron and Marty Skrull jobs. So, and he's talking about Velveteen Dream in recent interviews. Like it's probably not behoove to your product to keep him on. Like Black Taurus has signed an American deal with AEW, but AAA kicked up a stink saying that they can't use the name Black Taurus because he Black Taurus owns the name Black Taurus.
Yeah.
AAA own the name Taurus. Black Taurus is a different character to Black Taurus. So now AEW Tony's gonna have to go away and come up with a different name. So do you mean there's a load like why would I keep working for a guy who's just an asshole and he has a weekly podcast who bashes us and tries to give away a load of insider trade secrets, even though you've had him on your television show and you've sent down wrestlers for all the biggest shows possible to
Yeah.
Triple Mania shows. I don't think it's in your own interest. And if you've got a company in Mexico who are actually bigger than AAA, are more successful than AAA, better wrestling than AAA, the show that all your staff want to work on, why don't work with them instead?
Well, after the match, even though it happened in February and we're talking about the January, but as
Yeah.
we record that Brian Danielson match, with how do you pronounce his name again?
Hechicero. Hechicero.
Hechicero.
Yeah. Meaning
It,
sorcerer, of course, from your Leave and
that
Search
that
Spanish,
en
Jerry.
that entrance alone, leaving cert Spanish. We didn't do Spanish in school. The only way I learned Spanish from fucking Dora the Explorer.
Oh, fair play. Okay, right. Yeah, like, it was
Yeah.
class. It was just like, some of the stuff just different. Like obviously there's a different rhythm and cadence to how those matches are done, and like the rest of the world do boring are trained in a boring formulaic American television style
Hmm.
now. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you look at like low level shows in the UK or Ireland, and everything's done to the same rhythm and cadence, but like nobody's kind of rethought and how do we tell a story here? It has to be done the same way as it was in the 90s and such.
Hmm.
You just look, just some of the things that your man Hechicero did, you're like, Jesus, that was all right. Yeah, that's unique. It's innovative and it's a different tempo. It's a different pacing. It's a different.
It was technical. It
It's a
was
different.
technical masterclass. Like really,
Yeah,
like.
but there was even small things like when Danielson runs off the rope and like, or he did the head scissor guillotine, or he jumped over the like when Danielson runs off the rope, goes over and catches him in a headlock over the rope. Just small little things you
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
think of, that look dangerous, but like are done so well in a protective manner. Like I don't think HCR took a proper bump the entire match.
I don't think they
Um,
did. No.
yeah, like there's a million different ways to tell a story. I think having Brian Danielson there, a guy who's like not he's not narrow-minded and boring enough to say no, you have to wrestle my style. Like
Hmm.
John Moxley did a really cool backstage promo Wednesday. I don't know if you saw it. They went up in socials talking about like yeah, I don't blame you guys for hopping me. Like, but if you think we're just your typical stereotypical television American boring lazy workers, you have no idea who we are.
Hmm.
Which is look, but like
Yeah, I know where you're
it's
going with
not
it.
just
Like,
having a dig at like WWE. It's like he's actually saying like we can do every different style. And lucha libre, puro resu, Japanese wrestling, and American wrestling, they're three different things. And people need to stop like saying, "Oh, they're not as good because they're not this." They're three different sets of ideologies, and they're like CMLL is way bigger in Mexico and more beloved than WWE, generally speaking. WWE is kind of a Cirque du Soleil type thing,
Mm-hmm.
but this is seen as like your old territory days. People love, love, love going to the wrestling or to the lucha
Yeah,
libre
yeah.
down in Mexico. So it's I'm glad it's been kind of given the reverence and respect it deserves. Yeah, and it's very much in line with this newly found sports-based product, I suppose Tony's
Mm-hmm.
driving. Yeah.
We'll go back to the start of the year again
Mm,
for Samoa Joe, the new champion. He's had a month,
mm,
since he's been champion there. How do you think, it's gone for him?
good.
The hook, the mini hook feud he had kicking off the year. How do you
Yeah.
think that was?
Good. It was really, really good. I was annoyed that they didn't use the vignettes that they shot for Hook Online on television. Because AEW do some unbelievable promo works that go up in socials and YouTube
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. They never make it on television. And you're like, if you put that on television, that guy's gonna be 10 times bigger star. And it's almost like a weekly occurrence for the last couple of years. They did some load of stuff like at the turn of the year in the snow in New York,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's just shot so differently to anything you'll see in wrestling at all. You've seen the last 20 years. It's just unique, it's current, it's like a pretty young guy. He's obviously pretty good on crew or whatever in New York, he'd like shoot things in a different way. I thought it was really well done. It was a nice little mini feud. It wasn't something expected. It was a nice contrast when like on the other channel, he had Jinder Mahal emerge from the shadows, whereas he could actually. Do you know what I mean? Like it was like, obviously it wasn't intentional that they're at the same time, but it was that was more driven by Brian Gewirtz, who doesn't watch WWE. But um, anyway, it
Well,
was
it was
it's
kind
a
of a
nice,
way they kick-started the rankings, really. It was kind of
yeah,
a
yeah, and
reintroduction of him with Hook's
yeah,
record.
and the stressing the importance of like if you win so many matches, you're gonna get pushed forward, and even like
Mm-hmm.
feeds into Sting and Darby as well. But it built up a they brought in the kind of the hook bat signal thing, and like it was just a couple of new different ways. Like it's different. Like it's
Yeah.
not. Do you know what I mean? It's not pantomime. It's just something different, something slightly cool, or cooler than what you typically expect, and it's building up a younger guy who's been kind of in a stalemate for the last number of months anyway. In terms of his kind of week to week booking. So yeah, I thought it was really well done. It kind of really emphasized of Samoa Joe as like this final boss that everybody's chasing.
Mm-hmm.
Like he just looks effortlessly cool. Like he's not somebody who has to be on television in a death feud, like giving the promo of his life on a
He's
week to week basis. He can just like swan out,
Yeah,
be
and
fucking the
I know
penguin or whatever. Yeah.
I know he's been on commentary before in WWE, like, but he's very good on commentary when he's
He's
there.
like he's like Kingpin from the Marvel
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
universe. He's a bit like that. He just kind of sits back, talks shit, wrestle once a month, swan in, win, leave, go, and he's awesome. Yeah, I think he's been brilliant. I think he's the perfect man for the perfect time.
And it's led into this
Hangman Swerve, kind
Hangman
of
and
like yeah,
Swerve pick your poison kind of thing they've been doing
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
build up their
yeah.
rankings as well. Like get
We won't, we won't,
wins,
we won't dare say pick your poison ever again, though. But
yeah,
it's just,
something like that.
yeah, it was really no, it was really, really good, and you can kind of see like the more like obviously they've told Hangman you have to actually start turning up to work on a weekly basis.
With a
You can't.
mustache.
Yeah, like if you want to be Magnum TA, fire
Hmm.
ahead. Like you look slick, but like just keep turning up. Like we're
Yeah,
paying
yeah,
you. Do you know what I mean? The more he's featured on television, the better he is. But like you last year, I don't know if it's a kid or whatever personal circumstances or CM Punk related stuff. You never know. So we're not there. But like he'd be in TV for a while, then disappear. Did his
hmm
John Moxley feud was one of the matches of the year according to VOW as well. That whole build up, that Knight Rider theme at Revolution last year, incredible. Then he fucked off. And then he kind of
yeah,
swans in, does elite stuff, which was kind of boring. He did his like multi-man matches for about 4 or 5 months. Swerve called him fat on TV at the end of the year, kind of motivated him, I think. And then he did his match with Swerve at Full Gear, yeah.
yeah,
That was incredible. And he just seems to have been on a kind of hot streak. Like the two of them kind of seem to have found, or Swerve seems to have like properly given him a kick up the arse. Maybe just called him out on television. You never know.
yeah.
That might have been a planned dig or something.
It's working, like, but so
Working.
where
Looks
do we see
like
it? Where do you see it going? Like, do you
I think
see
there'll be a
a triple
triple
threat?
yeah, it'll be a triple threat match on March the 4th at Revolution. I think they'll do some sort of way. They'll do I say they'll do a non-finish or just kind of mass brawl and some sort of conclusion on Wednesday. That's the way I'd book it. I think. Don't think it'll be once. They were kind of stressing the fact that Hangman lost to Swerve about twice because of
Hmm.
interference, and then last night they were talking about like Swerve's not going to allow interference, which makes lends you to believe that possibly there could be Hangman might win on Wednesday, and then they might do another. Like it's a while away, March 4th. So it's like another
Yeah,
three or
it's
four
not
weeks of
6 weeks
yeah,
of build, like,
yeah, yeah. So I was like, yeah. So they've
no,
got
4 weeks now since, yeah.
yeah, so they got a few weeks to fill. So like they might do something on Wednesday where Hangman wins, then Swerve gets it back, or some there'll be some sort of way that they build to a triple threat match. That's the only thing that makes sense at this point, anyway. It's not going to be the
Uh,
main event of that show, given that Sting's retiring by the
yeah,
time that
that's
shows
so
up.
it's been built around Sting and Darby.
Yeah,
Well, let's talk about them as well, because
yeah,
Sting and Darby Allin are going for the t tag titles,
yeah,
and it looks like the Matthew and Nicholas are going to be interjected into that as well in some
yeah,
way or fashion. Do we
yeah.
see? Do they have Sting and Darby as champions going into Revolution?
I
Or
think
are they going to beat?
that'd be stupid.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, like, it'd be nice, like whatever you want to do. Like, you have a nice moment. Yeah, he's a champion, whatever. He's been undefeated.
yeah,
But how are you going to get to the point where they really want to build the Young Bucks, Sting and Darby? Do you have it by like they win the titles and then the Young Bucks, yay, hey, we'll challenge you. Okay, let's have my last match against each other. Yay, let's wrestle. Or
hmm,
do you want to have Sting and Darby just about there, just about there, just about there, then the Young Bucks cost them?
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I mean,
I don't know if like this is one of those things now where somebody doesn't need a title.
yeah, they don't need a
No,
title. No,
there's
and
no need for him to have a
you're
title.
burying Ricky Starks and Big Bill as well.
Yeah,
Um,
who shouldn't be getting buried after the way they fucking squashed FTR. Like,
they beat
there
Chris
should have
Jericho
been
and
a
Sammy Guevara a couple of weeks ago as well. Yeah,
yeah, but like there should have been a massive bill for them. They should be
yeah,
considered even bigger. They should be on the level where Swerve is, in the
yeah.
singles division. They should be in that, even though they're
They've
champions. Like, so,
whenever they've been on television this year, they've been brilliant.
yeah,
Like the Battle of the Belts build up was actually all right after they kind of turned that round after Kenny Omega got sick, obviously.
yeah.
The Battle of the Belts match with Sammy Guevara and Chris Jericho was really well done. It was the kind of backstage brawl. It was done differently. It was almost like kind of the Anarchy in Arena type matches. It's cool. It kind of gave you a reason to watch the Battle of the Belts shows.
Yeah, yeah,
Obviously, then somehow you're back into the Jericho universe of Don Callis back and forth drama, but listen, not everything's perfect on every show. Um, yeah, look, I think Ricky Starks and Big Bill are brilliant. Obviously, I think the as we touched on previously, this trios division generally it takes away an awful lot of energy from the tag division.
hmm,
But I think you've seen a huge refocus on the likes of Top Flight, the likes of Private
yeah.
Party, and
Private Party back.
a few other young teams have
It's
really
keeping them,
mm,
their
yeah,
brothers are keeping them,
they had a
Mark Quinn injury free, like, because
yeah.
they've stopped start for the last couple of years.
Yeah,
One
and
of them
they had a
stopped.
segment about 3 or 4 weeks ago where there was about 3 or 4 young tag teams in the ring at the same time.
Hmm.
And that was kind of just to say, hey, we're still have
We're
a tag
here.
team division here. Yeah, exactly. So I think you'll probably see with the Sting and Darby Allin and Young Bucks match, you'll probably see maybe an undercard match or not pre-show match, but undercard match of Sting and or Ricky Starks and Big Bill. I'd probably put them in a 6-man tag or something. Maybe knowing Tony might throw a ladder in there against. I know they did a lot of match at Full Gear, but like they
Yeah,
might do something. I'd probably to elevate the other two teams and to keep the title in prominence. I'd do something like that. I think that'd be a good match for Revolution, and I
yeah,
think given you've already sold like nearly 16,000 tickets for that show, and they'll probably end up selling another 5-6,000 if they readjust their arena settings. Um, yeah, I'd do a 6-man tag. I
What
think
would
that'd
you
be
do? What would you do with Darby when Sting retires?
provided he doesn't climb Mount Everest or something.
Well, that's
Get
his
lost.
plan, anyway, isn't it?
It's fine. Yeah, well, I mean, you can start like just pushing him as the single star he probably is. Like, he's class.
Or you wouldn't turn him.
No, 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 no,
No.
no. I think Jack Perry's going to come back soon after his Windy City Riot show
Hmm.
in New Japan. I think Sammy Guevara can keep swanning around in the Jericho verse. Nobody really cares. He's probably better as a babyface. Darby Allin's, yeah, that's kind of the two. It's funny the way the four pillars went. I think people kind of fell naturally into the roles. I think MJF's probably better as a heel, even though he's a good babyface. Jack Perry is an asshole in real life.
Yeah.
Fuck him. So he's better as a heel. And then you've got Darby Allin, who's hard to not like. I think as a performer, I think it's hard to dislike him. I think it'd be very difficult to portray him as a heel. I think he's like, how does he, a tiny guy, in a straight up wrestling match, if he doesn't have anybody with him, he doesn't have like a big heater on the outside.
Yeah.
How does he like he put him in a match with Konosuke Takeshita? Say Takeshita's the good guy and Darby Allin's the bad guy. How do you build that dynamic?
You
Do you know what I mean?
don't.
How do you establish who's the bad guy there?
Most bad guys these days are part of a faction or have a manager on their outside that
Yeah,
costs.
yeah,
That's the unfortunate. You don't really get heels who are on their own, like, or who don't have
yeah.
somebody helping them on the outside.
I think I think Darby Allin, the way he wrestles, naturally lends to being a babyface anyway, and
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
probably the best. He's one of the best natural sellers in wrestling. Um,
He's
so
fucking psychotic.
yeah, but look, he always sells upwards. He sells like sorry, insider
Mm,
term, but he sells up. He sells always engaged with the camera, always like stretching out like to the crowd. Everybody knows he's in pain the entire time.
yeah.
Everybody understands his struggle, his build up, his fire, building to the point of the comeback. Like he's not just one of these guys that kind of face down into the mat, punching the mat. Like no, you can see his face, you can see his eyes, you see the visual, you can see the effort he's putting
Yeah, yeah,
into it.
yeah.
So it's hard not to root for that guy. Like he's everybody talks about oh he does all his diving stuff. No, his psychology is unbelievable. It's actually very simple in what he does. Like his comeback
You
brand.
believe he's in pain
Yeah, he might do
all
one
the
or two.
time.
Yeah, but he might do. He probably is. I mean,
Yeah, but
he might
like
do. Yeah, yeah,
really, like the way he
yeah,
sells it.
yeah. Like he might do one or two high spots around his offense, but or his comeback offense. But like it's all psychologically quite structured and formulaic as
Hmm.
you would do kind of the seven different tennis around building a match. So yeah, like I love him. Hopefully off the back of this, you'll probably see him. You wonder if he go back into a TNT feud. Because he's done his kind of Samoa Joe TNT, the Christian Cage
Hmm.
piece, he's done the Wardlow piece. So you wonder where he go from here. I think he'll naturally kind of fall back in towards a world title kind of picture anyway. I think that's where he
Well, if
should
he's
be
going to
heading
take
towards.
time off, like if he is going to claim in Mount Everest, then he could be gone because it's not something you just go and do at the weekend and come back. You need
Yeah, I mean,
months.
you mightn't be allowed. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you're a contracted wrestler. I mean, like, if you go off to Mount
They
Everest and get lost, like, it's a bit like, well,
they let
am I
him
still,
do fucking jumps and shit on quad bikes and dune buggies and shit. They don't think
if you're suddenly a $1 billion product, it might change things though. So.
I don't think it'll stop him. He's an extreme sports fanatic, like so he's
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Anyway, yeah, that's what we.
stepping away from that side of things,
Hmm.
AEW signed Deonna Purrazzo
Hmm.
in January also,
Yeah,
and they've put her straight in. Like, well, no, she's had a couple of singles matches, like, but it's been straight for Toni Storm,
yeah.
which is probably happening. Or, hasn't been, is it a bit official? It's made official for
I think so. Yeah,
Revolution.
I think so. Yeah, yeah. I think more or less because they've done a couple of
Hmm.
sit down face to faces. Yeah, she came in, won three or four matches on the bounce. They kind of reestablished at the start of the year. Pretty much everybody's ranking or match records went to zero,
Hmm.
which is why the Swerve and Hangman seem to be kind of neck and neck in terms of the rankings. Because
Yeah, yeah.
otherwise, you'd just say like, well, hold on, Hangman just lost two in a row to Swerve. Um, so yeah, like I think it makes sense in the sense that like the last before she signed with AEW, the last time she'd appeared on AEW television, she defended the Ring of Honor Women's World Title a year or two prior against mm, Mercedes Martinez. Sorry, I forgot the name there.
Yeah.
In the main event of
Yeah.
AEW, she brought her to look like an absolute star. So yeah, listen, that was a huge. Uh, yeah, it makes sense. There's a story to tell, and there's going to be a few more women they've signed recently. Like they signed Mariah May, who looks awesome.
Hmm.
They know they've got something really good in their hands with Queen Aminata. That's why she's
Yeah, yeah,
building.
yeah.
She's losing, but she's every match is really good and is building towards to the point where she gets
But
her
she's
win on
getting
television.
over when she loses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like, it also gets to the point where it reestablishes the importance of your record, the importance of your rankings. So when she's getting closer to that win, and when she does get that win, like Daniel Garcia in the Continental Classic,
Yeah, yeah.
it'll push her even further. They've signed Megan Bain from Stardom as well, who's awesome. You'll really like Ashley. She's a big, strong girl, really good performer. Obviously they signed Mercedes Moné,
Hmm.
who's going to be debuting on March 13th show at the TD Garden.
Is that the announcement? Is that
Yeah,
the
that'll be announced on
yeah?
Wednesday. Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah. So it's gonna be announced this coming Wednesday, March 13th. Today, my father's birthday. He'll be
Well,
66 that day. Actually, Brian O'Brien. There you go. A funny name like that. But
oh,
yeah, TD Garden in Boston, where the boss is from.
As that's the Mercedes Morone friendly uh
Arena, yeah.
arena that you were talking about.
Yeah, well, so there's gonna be so a lot of the shows that were booked by Raphael Morphy. Well, we'll get on to a different topic now. Myself and Jerry had a previous conversation about AEW not announcing certain arenas or shows as of yet. A lot of it has to do with the shows that were announced at the start of this year were booked months in advance by Raphael Morphy, who had already handed in his 90 days notice because he got to take over the head of events for the Barclays Center in
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn, where he lives, which is fair enough. So a lot of the shows he was booking, he just booking for the sake of booking almost. He could have really like just spun his wheels and did his job, clocked in, clocked out. Like he booked New Orleans for Dynamite this week, like a week after Raw was there. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like, whoa, how did that get through the cobwebs? So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the arenas they've been booking, they were in Bossier City, Louisiana, the week before.
Yeah.
Collision, like where the fuck is that?
That's
Sorry to
where
any of
the
your
is
viewers
that
from Bossier City.
was that where the Water Boy was filmed?
Possibly, I don't know.
I think so.
I think was that not in Florida?
The Water Boy? No, it was Louisiana because they were
I
in the
thought it was in.
swamps.
All right. Oh, it
So
was.
he
Yeah.
lived in a swamp and she
Yeah,
was
but it's
eating the
swamp.
gators.
Okay. The mammoth here. So there's a lot of shows like that. Or Henderson, Nevada. They've got a
Mm-hmm.
show booked there. Might be this week actually, or next week. Henderson, Nevada for Collision. Like it just really poor sales. A lot of it was to do with the towns they're booking. Like third-rate markets, not even secondary markets, for a lot of their shows were really, really poor.
Is it
So
to do with the attendance at the minute, or is it?
no, a lot. So yeah, they blame a lot of their attendance on the markets they were
Mm-hmm.
targeting or they were booked for. Really just random decisions.
Towns, not
Yeah,
cities, not big
yeah. So they got Kosha
metropolis.
Irby and they got a new guy called Kosha Irby, who's the chief operating officer of the company now. Hugely used to work with a number of different sports franchises and WWE around sports coordinating, and a lot of his job's going to be around booking arenas, booking arenas for traveling dates, as well as merchandising, which is coincidentally the amount of merchandise AEW suddenly has at shows has gone through the roof recently compared to when Matt Jackson's wife was running it. But that's just neither here nor there. Just coincidental. But anyway, those are two big pain points for American fans. So those have been addressed by bringing Kosha Irby in. Jeff Jarrett is going to have more of a say in the running of live events as well than he did previously, working under Raphael Morphy for about 2 weeks when he first joined. So you're going to see some changes in the arenas they're booking. They're going to book larger markets more. And that doesn't mean they're going to run Chicago every 2 weeks, as a few people have suggested. Means they're going to be moving from large city to large city, so that we can
Mm-hmm.
see larger people or larger attendances in arenas. They're not going to be booking these big basketball arenas every week as they were previously, as Raphael Murphy decided to do. Booking arenas that are under 10,000, but you're going to see closer to 6, 7, 8, 9,000 as it is every week. And then off the back of that, then the product will be more enjoyable. Everything will be because the on-screen product is amazing currently. It's just the amount of people in the arena sometimes can make it feel smaller than it is,
Mm-hmm.
which is disappointing. Like you can watch a lot of the shows on a Saturday, like the show last night made more noise than anything on a WWE related show in a while. It was fans were rabid, but they only had about 3,000 in the building in Edinburgh, Texas.
Edinburgh,
Edinburgh. My
not
Scottish relatives would be
not Edinburgh.
no, not Edinburgh. I'm from Glasgow, so there you are. My Scottish family would be horrified of me talking about Edinburgh. Um, yeah, fucking dafty. So yeah, you're gonna see better attendances. Like if you saw the Collision show at the same time as Royal Rumble last week, 40,000 people for the Rumble show. Most of them were sitting on their hands, not engaged at all. Whereas the
By the
2,000
end.
people,
By
yeah,
the end of the night, yeah.
people watching um the FTR House of Black match, they were far more engaged in comparison.
Well,
So
let's talk about that. Let's
okay,
talk about FTR and
uh-huh.
House of Black and their feud for throughout
Yeah,
the
so
month of
big.
January.
Yeah,
They rang the bell. They had Julia Hart ringing the bell for FTR. It looked like
yeah,
they were trying to swerve to like having FTR join the House of Black or
yeah,
do some sort of
yeah,
turn. I'm not
yeah.
sure why or where it was going to, like, but they, obviously ended up with FTR and Daniel Garcia being the hero at the end of
Yeah.
the match. Like, how do you think that feud went, and is that over? Or?
Uh, like all the matches were class. And all the promos are really good.
Yeah.
But you're kind of looking at it like hard to understand what's driven this sometimes. Um, and it was easy to understand from FTR's point of view. You've got these creepy guys who keep like attacking you, or these creepy guys who keep saying creepy things to you, and like burning pictures of your family. So like obviously they're gonna want to beat the piss out of you. So like
Yeah.
that's easy to understand. Same with Daniel Garcia. But what was the motivation for House of Black to kind of target FTR? I'm not sure on that front. But I love Buddy Murphy. I love Malachi Black. I love Brody King. Like I think all three of them should be in singles feuds consistently. I think they're this unbelievable. However, like if you believe Dave Meltzer, people don't want to lose matches, and that's why they go off television for some period of time, etc. So you never know with these things as well, because uh, Dave Meltzer previously reported around Grand Slam 2022 that Malachi Black and Buddy Murphy had just finished up with the company, and they reappeared on television like 3 weeks later. So take that stuff with a pinch of salt. I really enjoyed the Escape the Cage match. I never really liked the trope of you win a cage match by escaping.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't make
It
sense. Like
never made sense. If you could pin them, why would you bother?
or
If you're able to put them down for that long, were you able to get up over the cage and climb out?
why do people spend so much time climbing the cage when the door's open? Like stuff like that. But the way they did it was quite good in terms of like it ended up being like two people were eliminated at the same time, both times.
Yeah,
It
and
was
they
kind of
couldn't get
cool.
back in. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's like Dax was going out the door and Brody King speared him out, and then Cash and Buddy are falling off at the same time, and then builds that big moment for Daniel Garcia. So it was really well done. It was really mid-south wrestling type. It felt like even the way the arena felt, like it was like yeah, the good guys won. That it kind of invoked that sense of emotion in the crowd. Like I don't know how much kind of old school wrestling you would be a fan of.
Oh well, I grew up with the old school WCW, like from the early or late 80s, early 90s,
Yeah,
like
like, it
so.
kind of feels that kind of
And the
way, that
Bill
mid,
Watts era, like
yeah, kind of
yeah.
like that. Which is good because I think that's a really underutilized kind of element of wrestling. I think WWE kind of rely on it slightly. But just wish they'd actually do a bit more in ring. But um, I think it was really really well done. I like that whole storyline generally, start to finish. I think well based on just because it was building to incredible matches. I think like it wasn't perfect, obviously. The Mark Briscoe development off the back of it. Mark Briscoe was taken out by the House of Black. He was then last night. He was in the ring cutting a promo on them, and then they kind of showed up on the screen, just said some
Yeah.
spooky House of Black stuff, and then disappeared. So, you wonder where it's going next or how it's going to develop. Why? What I do like about Collision is people have multiple people they're feuding with at the same time. It doesn't have to be one focus. I'm doing one thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
just uniform. So I think you can have like Ed or Adam Copeland's going to be focusing on the patriarchy and Christian, but also FTR and Danny Garcia are looking at the patriarchy. So you might have FT Copeland or whatever off the back of that, but then they're also the House of Black lingering in the back line, and FTR are still friends with Mark Briscoe. So there's going to be several different dynamics of that kind of collision
So
universe
like
still at
obviously
play.
going to lead to like it's obviously leading to Copeland and Christian for Revolution. So where does Daniel Garcia fit in? Is he just going to
Does
get a
he
match
does he
in
fit
the
in?
between?
Or does he fit in, or do they continue with this trios thing? Do they do House of Black reemerge and take them out or something, or take Danny Garcia out when he gets a shot at Christian?
Well, they were
Like that.
talking about the rankings during that
Oh,
match that they
I
were.
know. Yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Like, do the House of Black appear and cost Daniel Garcia and his like say his a title TNT title match next week on television? But does he suddenly if they Malachi Black appears in the ring, kicks the head off him, suddenly and they've taken out Mark Briscoe in the
Yeah.
show, and suddenly they're back onto the House of Black. The House of Black gets somebody in to make a 4-on-4, or do they stick with the 3-on-3? Um, and then they're still working in the trios division off the back of who comes out on top of the continued feud at Revolution. Do one of them get a title shot at the Bang Bang Scissor Gang unification match? So like having wrestling doesn't have to be like okay, you can see where they're going. It's better
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you sometimes don't see where they're going. Like for example, like the Rock Cody stuff, you didn't see where that was going. You didn't see that coming.
No.
Like it's caused backlash because people want to dictate where things are
It's
going.
it's caused backlash that's probably end up going to causing something more, Daniel Bryan WrestleMania 30 vibes
Who's that?
than they expected.
Who's that?
Some random dude who'd never been heard of again.
That sounds like a jobber. Uh, um, but yeah, like I think that's you could like I reckon WWE will probably start doing their hashtag give Cody a chance shite
Oh,
and
it's
bring
already trending, like, and I
yeah,
don't
and
know
I
whether they're
know,
going to jump on
but
board or what.
I reckon they'll probably try to take ownership and have Stephanie McMahon in the ring chanting "Thank you, Vince" again or something.
Mm,
Do you know what I mean? So you have those kind of things, but wrestling's better when you've got people not trying to dictate a story or try to understand it to like even though we're doing this here.
mm-hmm.
If you can sit down and watch it and just not let it play out, but if
We
it's something if you
You
can
don't want
suspend your belief, if you
spoilers. You don't want
yeah,
people like telling you that the finish of a match before you've watched the pay-per-view.
yeah,
I hate that kind of shit. Like, oh, this person is going to win and they're going on to do this. They've already
yeah,
been booked to do something else a week later or something. Like,
yeah,
stop telling us that kind of stuff.
yeah.
It's
Like the the masked men for the devil angle. Like
yeah. Well,
I liked it because I didn't know. And it was like, oh shit, what's that? You don't actually know. Like it wasn't
mm,
like the best thing in the world, but it was something hanging. Like there was the week to week in between stuff was pretty poor, but like the bookends were pretty good,
mm-hmm.
and the way it delivered was pretty good because you didn't actually know. You had an idea, you weren't sure, but you didn't know. Um, and you didn't know.
But it's led on now to the trios and the six man, like with Bulk Up Gold and Acclaim, because they were attacked
Yeah,
by the Devils. Now they're teaming up, which is
yeah,
going to lead to eventually them having a match against each other and hopefully combining the titles that you're hoping for.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But at the minute, like they're going to have a bit of fun with it, between now and
yeah.
Revolution or whenever
And
it
then
is they have
you've
them.
got the Undisputed Kingdom swanning around doing their thing as well. See the Kingdom, who are one of the best tag teams in the world, finally taken seriously. Roderick
Mm-hmm.
Strong, everybody takes Roderick Strong significantly more seriously in ring now, rather than just like a generic bad guy kind of wrestler. You see him like for actually how unbelievably cool he is. Like we were at the OTT Rumble show
Yeah,
2 weeks
yeah,
ago, and
yeah,
you see Logan Bryce coming in doing all the backbreakers, and the first thing I thought was like, oh, he's obviously just a massive Roderick Strong
yeah,
fan.
yeah, yeah.
The way he wrestles, so yeah, like I think everybody's been elevated off the back of that. You see Wardlow, his presentation, his entrance, everything's gone to a new level.
Is he
Seems to be doing.
okay? Is
Yeah, I
he?
think he's fine. Yeah, he seems to be all right. Yeah, like you can strain your meniscus, whatever, and be fine in a couple of weeks. So it'd be grand. Um, yeah, like Adam Cole, you don't know how long his crack will be.
What do you
And
think, actually, before you go for past Adam Cole? Because, he was revealed as the devil,
yeah,
and, MJF has gone out injured. There's no, we didn't get a closure on that. We're not going to get a feud in that for a long time. God knows when
yeah.
MJF is going to be back, how long Adam Cole's going to be
Mm.
injured for. So there's no,
But
are you happy
MJF's only
waiting?
MJF's only torn his labrum. Like it's not like I've done both. Sorry, I've done both my labrums. If
Mm-hmm.
you can have surgery, right, and you'll be back in 6 months, or you can rehab and you'll be back in like 2 to 3 months. Grand. Like you can go to the gym the whole time if
Yeah, yeah,
you just do a shit ton of band work and a shit ton of stabilizing muscles. Your labrum's the cartilage surrounding your shoulder. It's never going to be reattached unless you
yeah,
get
yeah.
surgery, which is keyhole surgery. Adam Cole has broken his ankle, and so he required 2 surgeries. Don't know how he finished his spot at Grand Slam with broken ankle. But he did, so fair play to him. Yeah, like I think they'll there's a kind of a general malaise to that whole WWE sports centric product from among the AEW fans that was kind of reintroduced as we touched on earlier during the September, October, November period. That kind of they really push for after AEW All In. So
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a real apathy towards that stuff, and because MJF was featured so prominently in every single episode of television, it's all about MJF's tropes and cliches. The coming back in, he
Yeah.
committed Grand Theft Auto, stealing an ambulance on live pay-per-view, and stuff like that. Like I think people are quite happy for a 6 month break from him. And to be fair to him, he was on TV like nearly every week for guts of 5 years. So
But
he missed a couple of months because
he, he was completely opposite to what was happening in WWE. Like, the champion was on
yeah,
TV every week, so it
yeah,
had to be something different.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've been like, listen, he could have been booked in a far better manner, but I mean, that's what he said. Like Tony, when he tries to empower or hand over the reins, doesn't always work out in his favor, and that's why you see people like QT Marshall leaving. So there you are.
Well, the fact that he turned face halfway through his title reign and nobody believes,
Yeah,
right up until the devil
Yeah.
revealed that he was, a full-fledged face. Like they were
Hmm.
expecting him to be playing everybody for the whole time. And, is he going to come back as a face? Is he going to
Yeah.
come back as the
He tried bloody hard. He just needs somebody to
mm,
kind of monitor him and everything he's doing. He wanted to do everything and anything. Like it's just, right, you don't need to do everything. Just chill.
we got a fucking kangaroo kick over, so
Yeah, we did. No, I know, but I mean, like, just in terms of like like the ambulance stuff before
yeah,
Full
yeah, yeah.
Gear, and like, it doesn't have to be everything. Like, just you could have just lost to Jay White 1-on-1, or you could have beaten Jay White just straight up. You didn't have to have all the additional over top stuff. You didn't. Adam Cole didn't need to be there. But anyway.
Yeah.
So yes, that's my little rant on MJF.
Yeah. Few other things that happened, like we got Serena Deeb back as well
Mhm.
in January.
Yeah,
It's great to see her back in TV.
yeah.
You mentioned Queen Amanita,
Aminata. Yes.
Amanata, yeah, yeah. Thunder Rosa is back as well.
Yeah.
Good to see her back. So the TBS title with Julie Hart, there's a a nice cluster of people there
Hmm.
to challenge her. Who do you think is going to go into, or who do you think has had a better January that's going to lead into it?
A TBS title match. I reckon you'll probably see. Who do you see? I think naturally it'd probably be a Thunder Rosa kind of shtick because I think Julie Hart, like she's probably not at the in-ring level required, and I think with Serena Deeb, you probably might see like the TBS title become more of a focus on Collision, like the TNT title is.
Mm-hmm.
That would make much more sense given there's 2 to 3 women's matches every week in Collision. There's probably one on Rampage, one on Dynamite, so Collision might be a bit more of a women's focused show as well.
There was two matches actually last night, wasn't
Yeah,
there?
two matches. Yeah, there's 2 matches
Straight
post
after each
weekly.
other, yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, like I can't remember who it was. It wasn't WrestleNomics, but somebody did a graph recently of the amount of in-ring women's wrestling on a weekly basis per show across Impact Wrestling and
Mm.
etc. Nearly always an AEW product that has the most women's wrestling on the TV show. Like I know it's like a
For
cliche that
time,
like yeah, yeah, time in rings. They might have had like so they might have had the WWE 3 WWE matches that are like 1 minute long or
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah.
Do you know what
That's
I mean? But it's
that's
just
that's the norm. Like you get 3 or 4 minutes each, but like
yeah,
you get one 20-minute match on Dynamite or Collision or
yeah.
something.
So yeah, it was. I just found that really interesting metric, even though you got so many different, particularly British podcasters who are, obviously very AEW doom and gloom. Like you see a lot of the kind of use the clickbait headlines and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Women's wrestling again in the same slot. Like, yeah, it's 20 minutes. Shut up. Like, I'd rather watch that than watch fucking Tegan Knox versus Nia Jax for like 30 seconds. Do you know what I mean? Just let me watch wrestling and let me enjoy it. Um, yeah, like I just found that really, really, really funny. And I think the 2 shows that showed the most amount of women's wrestling as an aside are NXT and Ring of Honor. If you watch Ring of Honor, I think it's the strongest in-ring wrestling product available to North American television wrestling. I don't watch enough. I very rarely watch Stardom. I've never really watched TJPW, so I can't
Mm-hmm.
comment on them. Um, like Sophie Van Kerr from CMLL is obviously amazing, but like the likes of Trish Adora, Athena, and Billy Starks, and so many more from Ring of Honor are better than 90% of the rosters anywhere. I think. Like Trish Adora is part of the New Japan Strong roster too. I think hugely of her. I think I'm praying that when Mercedes Moné debuts on March 13th, you'll see her initial feud with Athena. I think that would be just incredible. I think Athena is the best women's wrestler in the world
Mm,
by a
yeah,
long
absolutely, yeah.
by a long
Long
way,
shot, yeah.
long way.
I know
It's pretty
she's on
cool.
Ring of Honor all the time, and
Yeah.
it's but does she deserve to be on? Should they be showcasing her more on
Oh yeah, yeah. But
AEW TV?
I think when they established Ring of Honor, there's like, all right, we need to have pillars. As such, like Triple H used to always talk about like he never wanted to let Asuka go to the main roster because she wouldn't be used well, and he's kind of
Yeah,
proven
he's
right.
right.
But
Yeah.
he was also saying that if he kept her on NXT, that's his pillar. He can build a division around her, where our show around her. Whereas Athena has been used as like the anchor for everything on Ring of
Mm-hmm.
Honor, and she main events all our pay-per-views as well. So it's well deserved. So I think
Yeah,
it's been brilliant. Like a woman wrestler, like obviously 2 white men commenting on this as well. Like a black women's wrestler, it's a pretty cool thing to be the face of an entire
absolutely.
uh
100%.
yeah, one of the
She's earned it.
yeah, I think that's really cool in itself. And Ring of Honor is actually a bloody good show most of the time. Their pay-per-views are always outstanding. So yeah, all the more power to her. I think that naturally will build quite a large amount of equity within AEW and Tony Khan as well, to a point where like he more than owes her a huge run on AEW on national television now. Yeah, so I think that would be feud I want to see anyway. Might even do. I think the plan is for Dynamite, you're going to see two women's matches per week. One's going to be a Mercedes Moné match, and one's going to be another women's match.
Is, is she going to be a regular or so on every week?
Yeah, it's going to be
She's
similar
not
to the
going to be
CM.
like,
It's going to be similar to the CM Punk kind of run. You're going to have, you used to have like the CM Punk segment every week on
hmm
AEW. It was like it could be anywhere. It was never really like he has to open. He has to. It could be the end. He could be all over. You had a weekly segment. He's going to be on television every single week. He might just come out for a promo. He might for um. He might even do commentary on after his promo or something. He's going to be featured prominently on the broadcast. You're going to have the Mercedes Moné spot. Then you're going to have a separate women's match, and then you're going to
hmm
have the two on Collision and one on Rampage. It's slow. Like people give out about the AEW Women's Division, but it's slowly over time been a good turnover of wrestlers, where he weeded out a lot of people who like were nowhere near ready for television. If you Do you remember when AEW first launched, they did a YouTube tournament
Yeah.
where they had likes of Brandy Rose and Dasha
hmm
Kuret and a few other people. Do you remember Big Swole?
Yeah.
Like really not good wrestlers competing in that kind of tag tournament. It was a tag tournament, I'm pretty sure. But
Was it?
I think it was
Remember?
Diamante and that other problematic wrestler from Lucha Underground who got sacked. It was Diamante and oh, it's gonna annoy me. Diamante, who's still there, and she's class on Collision. But there's another um Latin female wrestler who was stiffing Thunder Rosa and not selling stuff in a match. Got sacked after it later.
Uh,
She had a history of that type of stuff.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, yeah. I know
you
who
know
you're
what I'm
on
talking about.
about.
Yeah, so it was a tag team tournament.
Yeah, yeah,
That was kind of like the baseline for women's wrestling in AEW,
yeah.
and it was really poor standard. People are like, oh, they don't unlock it in the time, but I think Tony Khan wanted to have because at the time WWE had about 1 million people in their warehouse out of
Mm.
Florida who were from the independents, all cherry picked from everywhere. So I think he's had to slowly build up his own internal roster, like Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale, like obviously build up his own stars like Julia Hart, Red Velvet, and many, many more. Obviously he brought in the likes of Jade Cargill, tried to give her every chance, putting her with every trainer imaginable before shows, after shows, just wasn't really that kind of in-ring wrestler. Like she's more
hmm
about aura and star power than being a wrestler, which it's just not AEW. If you want the glitz and glamour, like that's more Hollywood, as like Seth Rollins would call it. That kind of suits her doing the Royal Rumble WWE stuff, but it's just not AEW. I think he's now got a bloody strong roster of wrestlers, which I think he now has the best women's roster on television. I think
Do
when you see,
you think they'll introduce a women's tag?
I think they might. I was thinking that watching Rampage. I don't think they need it based
Not
on the amount
another
of
title, like, but
yeah. Like I'm get rid of titles first of all.
I know, yeah,
Let's
but
start, but I mean the way they've
do
kind
do
of
women's tag team wrestling proper way, like,
well, so they have four women's titles, right? They've got
hmm
if they've done it properly based on their roster, and if they split out people properly, you've got the Women's World, Women's TBS, Ring of Honor World, Ring of Honor Television.
hmm
That's cool to have four prizes for their kind of limited rosters. So they've only got, I think they've got 45 wrestlers on staff. Dig it out here while I'm chatting to you. But that's like for four titles for 45 people is not a bad conversion rate. Um, I think that's plenty for the time being. I know they've done a Willow Nightingale, Statlander kind of stuff recently,
Yeah, yeah.
but like I don't really see where that's leading to. Like they've got 42 women on their roster out of a total talent pool of 202.
hmm
Like that's I don't I think getting tag team titles in like they did, they shoehorned it in with WWE, and they're kind of an annoying trope now. Like when they're introduced at the start, like somebody won them for like a good big moment when they forced people to team together, and then they were very quickly forgotten about, and they're just used as like a tool to fit people in into shows. So I personally wouldn't. I don't think there's the roster's deep enough for 42 wrestlers across 7 hours of television to have an additional set of belts when you already have
Yeah, I
four
know,
belts
yeah.
people can compete for. So I think that's plenty for the time being.
Yeah. So there's other stuff that happened in January. We had the Hardys. Jeff Hardy seems to
Mm.
be turning heelish, kind of. I'm not really sure
Mm,
what they're going
yeah,
with, what they're doing. Like I know he had a pop at AEW, or I'm not sure, was that
yeah,
a way of building this character, turning heel, like, or he's going to be on Rampage, and then he got a match with Moxley on Dynamite. He still kind of flipped them off. So
yeah,
are we getting a heel Jeff Hardy?
yeah. I think so because then he had Darby Allin the week before. He
Yeah.
disrespected him after the match. Yeah, I think Tony's giving him a chance. Like the man's crocked. Like he's fucked. Like his
Oh
body is.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
completely.
like
Yeah.
he just looks and he can't move. And I guess obviously like himself and Matt Hardy are oblivious to the offenses they've committed in real life. Like Jeff Hardy should be lucky to have a job.
Mm-hmm.
You should feel lucky. You should realize you should be in jail, not be taking shots on Twitter and giving out interviews that like you're annoyed that you feel like a ghost backstage. Be happy you're getting a paycheck. Like you nearly killed somebody. Just you weren't
More than
sacked
once.
more than once. You weren't sacked like a year ago. You got rehab paid for by your company. You got brought back and still featured on television. Even though you're featured on television, you look like shit because you can't move. Like even before you got sacked, before you went to rehab, you got given a double or nothing tag team title match with the Bucks, and you looked dreadful. Like TV, you got 202 talent on the roster. TV time's a premium. You can't
Mm-hmm.
just be giving people time because they're nice and they've got a cool entrance song. They have AEW is the in-ring sports-based product. You can't just be having people like Darby Allin had to go above and beyond to get a drag a good match out of him, and he did. But he like fucking nearly killed himself doing so.
Yeah.
Like Moxley had his funny kind of moment with Jeff after, but like Jeff trying to build heat by doing like real easy spots and stuff. It just doesn't look fluid. It just looks like he's in pain constantly because he probably is. Like I like Jeff Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
I've always liked Jeff Hardy. I used to really like Matt Hardy growing up. Um, I used to really like the Extreme Life Matt Hardy podcast, but their kind of outspoken nature and the way they've been moaning on social media the past few years, and like grand amount of bangs to the head and stuff probably doesn't help in that front. But like there's a general malaise and apathy and almost people wanting them to go away now.
But
Just I think it's
they should be more of a special attraction kind of thing now that they've gotten to that stage in their career, like
like
where
what special attraction? Who's gonna come and see them? Who wants to see them?
But I mean, like if they weren't on TV every week, RVD's a special attraction. When he shows up, people
Yeah,
buzz
but he
about
can
him.
move. He can wrestle. Do you know
He
what I mean?
can,
Like,
and he can't. Like he's he's able to rehab. He's able to rest and recuperate because he's
he,
not doing it all the time. When they are doing it all, they're
but
not getting a chance.
they're not really doing it all the time. They every few weeks they'll have, like generally speaking, they've had a couple of matches this year, but generally speaking, they'll be like there every few weeks, and they'll do like a six man, and they'll whoever they're with in the six man will do all the work,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then they'll get the hot spot. Do you know what I mean? And then they've got to Matt Hardy suggesting constantly about contract based and family office based storylines, trying to drive his own narrative, or I'm getting Zay to go, oh yeah, like over and over, like, and then going on his podcast to give about AEW not having enough characters and stuff. Like, shut up. We're not going to do some spooky magic show. Um, like, you can have them as a special attraction, brilliant, but they've got to be able to then deliver. And when they have been, they are essentially because they're on Rampage or peripheral shows, they're not being seen regularly by the same cohort of fans. So when they do appear on Dynamite, it is a special attraction.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the
That's
logic. That's the logic behind it. But Tony Khan has to be able to see them every couple of weeks. Like, can you still do this? By the way, I'm paying you. Can you still actually wrestle? So if I'm gonna put you on ramp or Dynamite Collision, I just want to see that you can do something good here. You have to be trusted to put them in that spot. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, there's nothing really left for them to do. Is there like?
Other than be let go?
Well, like there's nothing for them. Like it's not like they're ever going to
No,
be put in the world title picture or
I
anything.
think they were due to be world champions before Jeff fucked
Mm.
everything up. Like, and I think they're obviously pushing online out of their own egos or whatnot. Like, it's just the way they behave now. Like, people just there's been like a sense of turn against them. People don't want to listen to them or see them that much anymore because of their not even the Jeff Hardy stuff. It's the way they act online and in their podcasts, their interviews they give, and the things they say. That creates a backlash. And it's like the same with people who dislike FTR for the same reason because they interpret what they say in a negative way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's the way like that stuff. Hardy and Jeff Hardy say, I'm like, just shut up. Shut up to fuck. Like, like, why are you talking? If you want to go back to WWE, do, but you're not going to get on television. Like, if you want to just do the conventions every weekend, do them. You'll have a queue a mile long. You won't have to bump.
Yeah.
Matt Hardy needs the paycheck in case something else.
Somebody who is a special attraction and is still able to go is Adam Copeland. And we touched on
Yes.
him earlier, like when he's doing the
Yes.
Cope Open throughout
Yeah.
the month of January.
Yeah. Awesome. Really, really good.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
he's changed his style entirely
Mm-hmm.
because he's even the interviews he's given, he's gone. It's such a breath of fresh air to see a guy who's been scripted for so long. You don't know what his actual promo style is like. Do you know what I mean? You don't know what his voice is, but he understands what Adam Copeland is rather than Edge better. Do you know what I mean? He's a
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's
grizzled old guy.
himself.
Yeah, he realizes he's not as fast, he's not as strong, he's not as explosive, but he's got to be tougher. He's got to.
Mm-hmm.
That's why moving from a spear, which is supposed to be a fast, dynamic, explosive impact move, to that kind of crossface he does
Yeah.
now, and the more like he was doing the Will Ospreay back of the head elbows the other week, the striking with Suzuki, like that grizzled, tough. I'm gonna
Grit.
batter you. I'm
Grit.
just grit, but like he's
Grit.
talking about like his kind of. It's almost a brawler, that kind of relentless, go forward
Mm-hmm.
attack style. And he's got such a different demeanor and everything. Like obviously got the same music, but that's probably the height of it. I
Well, he
think that's
can
not.
do like, outside of WWE, like in AEW, he's a big guy. Naturally
Yeah,
he's a big guy anyway, like, but to
yeah,
the AEW roster, he's even bigger because
yeah. But yeah,
outside of Luchasaurus or Kill Switch, whatever, like there's
yeah,
not many people bigger than him, taller than him
uh,
there. So
yeah. Like
that
but
powerhouse look he has on him.
he has to like he's so smart that like he's not relying on like big explosive one move kill
Mm-hmm.
shot type stuff. He's having to do cumulative damage because he's older. He's a guy in his 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really smart wrestling, and I like it. Really, really good.
Yeah.
And its promos are brilliant as well. Like obviously it's building towards a Christian Cage match, but like they're both in their 50s and they're fucking awesome. And like arguably Christian's doing his best work of his career now.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean,
He's the best heel in the business at the minute.
yeah, and he's just taking the piss, just having a laugh.
Yeah.
Like he's got a kid and his mum. Like it's why, and he's got a guy in a dinosaur, but it works. Like it's bizarre. And then
Why hasn't he lost the mask? Why didn't they take that off him? He doesn't need it anymore.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't
I know
know.
they're eventually going to he's going to eventually turn on Christian.
Does Jungle Boy come back as a baby face and
Oh
save?
no,
But like
no,
that's like, do you know what I
he's
mean? That's why if
he
you're
can't
thinking about it,
recover.
I know, but if you're thinking about it, is that what it?
He caused
Everything,
WrestleMania 4
everything.
did they fall apart just by one line, like a butterfly effect that caused CM Punk to get fired, come to WWE, get injured, fuck up the main event of WrestleMania.
Not Dwayne's fault. It's Jungle Boy's fault.
Jungle Boy fucked it up because he used real glass.
I like that.
That's pretty much, if he
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
say
yeah,
that, CM Punk might still be there, and
yeah,
who
yeah,
knows
yeah.
what will happen.
CM Punk mightn't have beaten him up like
He mightn't have got fired. He mightn't have fucking
yeah,
came to WWE, pulled his tricep, and
yeah, yeah.
stuck Cody into a match with Seth, apparently.
Mm, that's a
Fuck you,
different
Jungle Boy.
that's a different conversation if we want to do a WrestleMania preview this week.
Yeah, we will do. We will definitely be doing a few of those. We'll see what happens first. We're not
Yeah.
sure what is going to
Does
happen.
Cody come back to AEW?
No.
Save racism again or whatever he does.
Hey, he saved the world.
Save the world. Yeah.
That's it for January. February, we're obviously 4 weeks build right up now until Revolution. Sting's last match.
Any predictions, by the way, between now and March 4th? Do you have any predictions as to
Predictions.
what'll be added to that card? You've asked me a lot of
Oh,
questions. I'm putting you in the spot
oh
now,
yeah,
but
ask away. I'm not 100% sure. It depends on the CMML stuff of Kingston
mm,
and Brian Danielson.
mm,
I know they're teasing a lot of stuff. I'm not sure if
yeah,
that's just because
yeah,
they don't like each other or they're
mm-hmm,
just going to keep that going without actually having a match. But it
yeah,
seems to be that way. I might
yeah,
get a match for that title. I wouldn't mind saying that, but again, if they're going to go the CMML
mm-hmm,
route, then you're going to have Blackpool Combat Club against
mm-hmm,
the rest of fucking CMML for
yeah,
a possible Forbidden Door style match where
yeah,
there's an invasion angle. So I wouldn't mind
mm-hmm.
seeing that. Um, Yeah, I don't want Sting and Darby Allin to close the show
Yeah,
in a tag team title match.
yeah.
I
I
don't know
think
what it
I don't
does
think
for any of them.
I don't think it'd be a tag title match. I think it'll be a straight up 2-on-2.
Just with the Bucks.
Yeah, and they'll probably do like a book style, essentially false, like do you mean tornado tag type
Oh yeah,
match?
well, most tag
But
matches are tornado anyway. There's no real.
I prefer if it was a straight up tag, because then you could build to the Sting hot tag and the whole like 15,000 go mad. But like again, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
All
Oh,
right, what go on?
Is Okada? Is he 100%? Is he pretty
Yeah,
much
also
a done deal?
Will Ospreay's to come in the next few weeks
Well,
as well.
Ospreay's coming. What date is he due?
13th, I believe,
Of
maybe
February.
around that time, maybe a week or two.
Is he?
So I had in my head 13th. So 13th is the Tuesday. I think he might have.
Next week?
Yeah, I think he's doing the show on the 11th. The same show. Is it the cage match? They've got the United Empire against the Bullet Club War Dogs in a cage match with like the third
Oh
ever
yeah, yeah,
cage
yeah,
match in
yeah.
New
So
Japan.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's the 11th, and then it would be the 14th. Valentine's Day says you better have something nice for Liz.
If he's
Yeah, yeah.
able, if
Yeah,
he's
there you are.
able.
So he might be back the week or two after that. So I know he's finished the 11th, so I had the 13th in my head. That's Tuesday though. So yeah,
Interesting. How did they book him for
yeah.
Revolution? So he's only got a week or two built.
But who do they book him with? Because you got so many injuries, you got so many people out,
Mm.
and then you got so many people who are you don't want to see him with. So who would you like? Obviously, you can't put him in the world title. You can't put him in the TNT title. Where'd you put him?
Is he still associated with the Don Callis family when he comes back?
Oh, jeez, I hope not.
I think he is. Unless
Uh,
he's coming in to feud with them and take Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher back off them and keep them to himself and fuck.
yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good.
That would
That'd
be a
make
nice
sense.
one.
A nice little trio. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, we could do that. The trio. Well, Mark Davis is
But
still
then
injured,
that
is he?
means he'd have to interact with Jericho straight away. And like, who the fuck wants to do that?
Well, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Anyway, and then the March 13th show. If you want to do a double money reference in the TD Bank Arena in Boston,
Hmm.
you can do the
The
Rainmaker
Rainmaker.
and the CEO boss or whatever she's calling herself now, Mercedes Money.
We get
Um,
Moxley and Okada. The Rainmaker up first. Are we going that route?
I'm not sure because he's facing Naito at Windy City. It- See, when you if you sign Okada, he's got to be like your Roman Reigns. He
Hmm.
has to be that level. You've got to book him better. He's the top 5 wrestler of all time, I think.
But he's coming into a ranking structure now, isn't he? So,
Yeah. So I mean, but you've got to like put him in, and he's just gonna present him in such an aura and a gravitas that like everything he does, he's got to be your number one above everybody. Do you know what I mean? You kind of
so
have to book him that way.
would you book him where he comes in after the the triple threat with Samoa Joe, Hangman, and Swerve, and he just comes in and has a standoff with Joe, and eventually we get a Joe and Okada match down the line where he has to work his way up through the rankings to get at Joe.
So you could do that, but you could do it like they did with Brian Danielson when he entered.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why the rankings were class because he couldn't come in and say I'm getting a title shot
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like Dwayne's doing. He said like no, I understand the rankings. I understand you've got to earn everything here, but I want to prove I'm better than you. I don't think you'd do it with. I wouldn't. You could do that with Okada and Joe, but I wouldn't do it with Joe. I would love to see, say, Ospreay's going to debut at Revolution, elevated, blah blah. He's in the
Mm-hmm.
ring and like, and then coin drops,
But yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the two of them have their match without a build and just they have a half an hour bank. That'd be something different. But like
Right there and
obviously,
then.
but then obviously somebody has to lose in their first night in the company. So that's the kind of balancing act.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And given you've got so many wrestlers away, injured, whatnot in AEW, kind of hard to know where to place them. But yeah, Tony will have this sorted genuinely. This is
I
one of
hope
the few
so.
things. Yeah, he will do. So I know Kata's not gonna start punching people backstage. He's best friends with the Bucks. All these things happen.
Well, we'll
But
see
yeah,
what
listen,
happens. We'll see what happens.
it's gonna be a
Yeah.
big 6 weeks. Six
Yeah,
weeks.
yeah. For February, it's going to be huge. For the build up anyway. So I'm looking forward to
Mm,
coming back here.
yes.
We'll do a show, a preview show for
Yeah.
uh for Revolution, and we'll just look back on February, and then after Revolution, we'll just do a review of what happened, and Well, maybe in the middle of March or towards the end of the March, we'll see how things going and who has signed and who has not.
Be more and more. This Wednesday will be a big starting point for everything. So yeah.
Yeah, a huge announcement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mark, always a pleasure having you on.
Thank you, Jerry, my
Like I
friend. Thank you.
said, you are the biggest FTR fan I know. We have the picture to prove it. Lads, if you haven't
That
already,
travels. Yeah,
make
by
sure
the way.
you wish Mark a happy birthday in the comments. He is 32 now, so he's feeling old.
Please.
And we'll be back at the end of the month for, like you said, another AEW show. But we'll also be back for the Irish Wrestling podcast. The Irish Wrestling Awards is coming up in the next week or two. And we'll have other shows coming up throughout the month of February. So stay tuned. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys. See you later.